Hi, I'm Ted Newman. I'm the producer on Geist, and we're here at N-Space in Orlando, Florida. And I'll take you to the conference room. This is where we have all the meetings with clients, mainly Nintendo of Japan. We have spent many long hours in this room to the point where we've decided in the new office, if we ever change spaces, we're going to get windows everywhere, because spending 12 hours in here with no windows is a little hard to do. This is a Geist poster from one of the E3s, and this is actually signed by Kono-san, Tanabe-san, Shikata-san, and Goto-san, who were all, critical members of the Geist team. And Tanabe-san obviously was Metroid Prime and Metroid Prime 2. Kono-san just recently did Nintendogs, but also worked on all of the Mario Kart titles. And Shikata-san and Goto-san have been with Nintendo for years and years. And they're our good friends and partners. Okay, I'll take you into the Geist team room now. This is the main room for the Geist team. It's mainly programmers and scripters and designers. People spent a lot of time in the past couple months finalizing Geist in this room. A lot of late hours, and there was actually a sickness that went around, probably starting at this desk here and then just sort of working its way around the entire office. But I managed to somehow avoid it. That's my little space over there, which is clean for a change. This is the artist room, and this is made up of animators, world builders, and concept artists. There's some of the Geist concept art on the wall there. And right now they're working on some stuff that they should be hiding or zooming in on the screen so you can't exactly see, like Randy just did there. Here's somebody else that tries to have as many toys as I do, but he doesn't quite make it. This is our kitchen and vending machine room. N-Space is kind enough to pay for most of the stuff ourselves, so like sodas are only $0.25. They recently put in Red Bull, which was a bad idea because a lot of us became hooked on that and would have like a 4 Red Bull a day habit, which I'm trying to kick as we speak. This is a little thing that the artist made to pass the time. They usually go out later in the night when it's not as hot to play hacky sack, and that wasn't enough for them, so they decided to make a hacky sack volleyball game. So they find like one of the handicapped parking spaces and they just set up and play that for a while.
Hi, my name is Dan O'Leary. I'm the Vice President and was the Project Manager on Geist. We'll continue the tour that Ted started and in the back half of the offices. This is another area of development, software engineering back here. These guys are largely responsible for the core technology in our products, what we call the engine. And that's an N-GIN. We've been using our own technology for games for all of our products since day one here at N-Space. It's something that we're proud of, and hopefully it gives us an advantage over other folks. This is my office. I spent most of my time, or most of the last 9 months, while working on Geist, actually sitting in the team area to help out with things. But now that the final crunch is over there, I'm back to my old digs, and it feels good to be done. So this is our sound production area. Did music composition, sound design, so forth. Got a big Pro Tools rig. Unfortunately, Mike, the sound guy, is not here today. He's sick. Has been for a couple of days now. We hope he gets better soon. We'll come down here to another product development area. Okay, you're good. This dark cove is another one of our development areas. We're doing stuff in here that I can't really talk about right now. A couple of projects that we've gotten started on since Geist wrapped up, and we were working on before Geist wrapped up. But I can't, they haven't been announced yet. I can't really talk about them. We've always done multiple projects here at InSpace. At one point we were working on 5 projects concurrently. But recently, we've had the great majority of our effort has been focused on Geist, with a few folks working on a few other things on the side. This is Scott Corrali. He recently quit World of Warcraft cold turkey. We're very happy for him.
Did it in one night.
Warcraft is it's a bad thing.
I didn't know it had traveled that quickly through the company.
It's an evil thing.
Yeah. I played it for about 7 or 8 months.
Good work. Good work.
Thank you, sir.
Recovering World of Warcrafter.
I'll be all right.
This is our system administrator, Gary Myers. Say hi, Gary. There we go. This is my partner, Sean Purcell, another one of the founding members of InSpace. He's busy on the phone, as is often the case. Does a lot of the administration, but also finds time to hit the code books every once in a while. This is Eric, my other partner, Eric's trophy wall. Unfortunately, Eric wasn't able to be here today. He's recovering from some illness, and we wish him the best and quick recovery. He would have loved to have been here for this. This is the lobby at InSpace. We have a lot of artifacts of our previous products here. We've been in development since 1994, November of 1994, and have worked on everything from initial launch PlayStation products through current generation GameCube and Geist. We've always been kind of schizophrenic as a developer. We've got a side that does kids titles, which have been wildly successful commercially, like Rugrats and Mary-Kate and Ashley series of products. And we've got a big kids section, which has done very well with titles like Duke Nukem Time to Kill, PlayStation Shooter of the Year, Danger Girl, Die Hard Trilogy 2, and a lot of other stuff that has come out over the years. Initially, before starting InSpace, my partners Eric and Sean and I started development working on an arcade game called Desert Tank for Sega. During the last 7 or 8 weeks of development of that product, we actually lived and worked in Tokyo at AM2 under direct supervision of the current director of AM2, Kataoka-san, and the previous director of AM2, Yu-san.
Hi, my name is Jeff Outlaw. I'm the manager of the character and animation team. I have the pleasure of working with some of the most talented animators and character modelers in the business. I was started off on Geist as a world builder, and then moved over to the character and animation team, seeing the project through to the end. We enjoyed every bit of it. We had some really nice stuff. We did a lot of RTAs, or real-time animation movies, in the game that tell the story, and just everything that came out of the game came out great. I was going to show you some of the tools that we used to create the product that we did. Well, we used 3D Max to do Geist, and we had a lot of tools made inside of 3D Max by our engine team. Some of the things I created, one of the things I created was the animation tool export. We were able to have more than a whole series of animations in one Max file and jump between them just using this tool here. Start an animation that would maybe have him shocked, and then bring him down to just a stand idle. This allowed us to have the same starting position for all of them, and made the blending a lot easier. Made us a simpler way to add animations to a set, just by jumping through this tool here. This is our model and animation viewer, a tool that the engine group created for us. It allows us to see the animations playing on the characters, just running in a loop. We can get as close or far away as we want to. We can slow it down, speed it up. We can show them in wireframe. Oops. And we can show them in wireframe. We can cycle through the animations, load up the entire animation set for the character to see them all, make sure they all work okay. We can apply the wrong animations to the wrong model, and then the right ones to the right model. Get in as close as we want to them. It showed every aspect of the modeling, all the environmental maps you can see. We can move the light around to see the environmental maps coming in nicely, the detail maps, above maps. Everything would be loaded into the maps so we could see it the entire way. Gives a good view of how the character looks and feels, moves.
As the art production manager, it was exciting working with the leads on the project, working with the designers, working with the scripting team, the coding team, and just kind of working with everybody to make it all come together. It was a very exciting project. I think some of the highlights were, just seeing the final product, come all together towards the end. Multiplayer is very exciting also. It was great to be a part of that. I think overall, a very good project. I'm going to go over just some of the basic, some of the concept sketches and designs for the project. You can see up here is quite a bit of them. You can see a lot of the color studies. We did go through a lot of detail, just trying to get everything, to match in with the environments to fit and look as great as possible. You can see some of the evolution of Volks, some of his earlier designs to final approved concept there. Some of his color studies. He's one of the main characters, not the main playable character, but one of the main ones in the game. He turned out really good. Everybody was very happy with the final product on him. Some of the enemy characters, some vehicles, some earlier stages of actually Volks as a young child. Some of the enemy villains there, they didn't quite make it into the game. A couple of these sketches did make it in the game, but just kind of remained on some of the boards. This is just a few samples of the hundreds and hundreds of sketches that went into Geist design. Pretty much Geist's art style kind of evolved pretty much as a collaborative effort of everybody. During the years, definitely the art style kind of improved. I mean, definitely. I feel that there wasn't any one sole person that said this is exactly the way it has to be. It was kind of a collaborative group effort, and it made for a very interesting design, and I think where we ended up was very good. Everybody was very happy with the final stuff in game.
Hi, my name is Tim Schwalk. I'm the lead scripter here on Geist. I've been with InSpace for 3.5 years. I started out on Mary Kate and Ashley, which was great fun. And I moved on to Geist, which proved to be even more fun. I was kind of in charge of the scripting team, and we were the guys that really put all the fun into the game, so you can thank us for loving it. And you might recognize my name from such places as 1B, the Schwalk Ale Can. Always great fun. So enjoy, Geist. Good talking to you.
One of the events I worked on, for example, was a mouse sneaking puzzle where we had to set up traps, that would attract the mouse, and then we had to script it so they would be attracted to the cheese, and then if the player ate the cheese, then they wouldn't be attracted to the traps, and then also making the puzzle interesting, for the player to navigate, and providing them with enough opportunities so it wasn't instant fail kind of scenario. As far as scripting goes, it's been quite interesting and exciting because it's amazing seeing your work go from nothing to actually active, in the game and playable. You can make changes quickly on the fly, and then all of a sudden, you can run it to the cube and you can actually see the effects in real time. So it's really kind of, I guess, a powerful feeling at times.
My name is Joshua Crow. I'm the lead programmer on Geist. That means that I coordinated amongst all the other programmers and also did some of the programming myself. All of the vision filters you see in the game, the collision, the AI, all the things that actually make the game you play happen, I coordinated and worked on. I worked with Ted and Dan also to make sure that the vision that the designers had, that what they wanted to see in the game was what you actually play. There was a lot of challenging stuff to do for this game. Certainly, there were a lot of things you could possess, and we wanted to make sure that the player really had fun being all of the things they could be. We wanted to make it interesting to roll around as something, to be a dog, to be a mouse, to be a guy with a gun. And all of this variety took a lot of time and effort, but I think in the end we came up with something that people are really going to enjoy playing.
Hey, what's up? My name is Andy Basiga. I'm lead world builder on Geist. I've been on the project since it began a couple years ago. And what we have up here is a multiplayer level, which is the boss level. We do everything in Max. So right here, this is about 18,000 polys. We do all of our texturing, lighting, everything in Max. That's the wireframe. Here we have it, fully lit with light maps and everything. We have custom engine tools. We can, assign all of the launch point properties to all the models and everything in there. We have some pretty cool texture tools, which we can basically see, scroll through every texture that's on the level, assign different properties to the textures and stuff from there. What we can also do is just export them right from Max into our engine, and from there we can just boot it up and play it. So this is the level that was right on my screen. Couple of, between me and the world builders, we built a lot of different levels, different environments, everything ranging from, morgues to kitchens and stuff. One of my favorite is definitely the kitchen. It was kind of one of the hardest to nail. Everyone had different aspects of, what they wanted to see the kitchen in an underground complex look like. But in the end, we finally went with like a mess hall type kitchen-esque area. And I think it came out pretty well. Lighting, all of the models and stuff inside the kitchen. We have, everything from a grill with burning hamburgers frying to, a picnic table like mess hall chairs and stuff, which the soldiers sit on. So that's probably definitely my favorite area in the game. So
Geist is a first-person adventure game, focusing heavily on the adventure side. There's a fair amount of action and shooting in it, but I think a lot of people out there think, oh, it's a first-person shooter, and they try to compare it to everything else that's on the market. And what we really tried to do was make a first-person game that had some unique things that people haven't necessarily done before. And the main thing for that is the whole idea of possession, and also being a ghost in general. Nintendo and us butting heads? No, I mean, Nintendo is they're very logical, they're very easygoing, and we always got along. I mean, there'd be times where an idea that we had, it was a little tricky to get across just from a cultural or a language barrier, and the same thing in the reverse. But for the most part, I don't think we ever had any, clashes. On the environment in Geist, it all takes place in the Volks Corporation, which, as the story progresses, you find that this building, which is mostly subterranean, was built in the early 1900s by this woman who thought that her dead husband was communicating to her and telling her that she needs to build deeper and expand out farther underground. And essentially you find that it was really something else communicating to her that was trying to get discovered, and it was using the death of her husband to manipulate her. We try to put in there a strong story, and give it more of a narrative than a standard FPS might have. So as you go throughout the game, you'll learn through different ways exactly what this place is and where all these people came from. Since you spend a good part of the game without a body, there's a lot of interaction just trying to find a host. So there'll be interaction between the ghost and people, and then once you get a host, there'll be interaction between you and the other people who don't necessarily know that you're possessed. And then later on in the game, people will pretty quickly find out that, oh wait, this is possessed, or this person's possessed, and I need to do something about that. Object possession in the game came about partway through development. At one time, the ghost would sort of manipulate things from afar, but Japan would, during one of their many visits, they would come like every couple of months, and Japan at one time said, look, we need to talk about the idea of object possession, which is something that Miyamoto-san, whenever he would review the project, he would talk about, well, I wonder what it would be like to possess a container or to possess a plant. And they didn't quite know what he meant by that, or what to do with it. And when we first started talking about it, we weren't quite sure either, or how it would fit in the game. And we met for probably a good week trying to figure out how object possession could fit in the game. And at that point, we discovered that, well, instead of controlling an object from a distance, what if you just possess the object and then roll around as a soda can or cause a container to explode, for example. Yeah, I'd say my favorite would be, there's a level in the game where it's in a helipad, and there's a number of missile towers that are protecting the pad, and there's a friendly helicopter that you have to make sure it lands safely. And there are explosive containers and gun turrets stationed all throughout this helipad, and you have to use a demolitions host that you possess to ride up these big elevators and blow up these missile turrets. But you can try it just as a standard action game and just use this, this demolition guy to blow people up with these proximity mines. Or you can go around as a ghost and go into each little pocket and use the containers and use the missile, what do you call them, the gun cameras to mow down the enemies. And there's ways you can do it where you can pretty much clear everybody out without getting any damage to your host. And for me, that's always a challenge. I just love going back and playing that level over and over and doing it different ways. The hardest aspect was probably the whole idea of possession and dispossession, and just, I mean, you're not just playing one host or one character from beginning to end. You're playing all these other people, animals, objects, and it was a big challenge to try to get everything to work together. And just the idea of dispossessing from a bug standpoint was really interesting, because we would get all these weird bugs of people would put their back up against a door and then dispossess, and then their host would be on this side of the door and then they would be on the other side of the door. And it was a big challenge to try to get everything to work smoothly. The control schemes, to try to keep them intuitive, it uses pretty much what you would expect in a first-person game as far as controls go. We try to make everybody happy. When you possess other characters, they still operate the same way. When you possess objects, a lot of times it'll go down to a single stick scheme of just steering that object around. And then we knew that Nintendo had a philosophy of using the A button as the primary action for any character or any object. So we stuck to their tenets on that and just tried to follow Nintendo guidelines. As far as the Geist sequel goes, I really can't comment on that officially.
Geist started initially in 2002. We were doing some initial development after speaking with Nintendo of America about some of the titles that they were interested in doing. And we learned that they were keen to come up with a unique Nintendo first-person shooter, first-person action game, really more, is what they were looking for. So around that time, we started thinking of how we could take the traditional first-person action games and fold in some unique new aspect that would give the game a twist, that would give it the uniqueness that Nintendo was looking for. And we came up with, some people started toying with the idea of like the Invisible Man kind of thing, and being able to walk around unnoticed, manipulate people, see their reactions, toy with them, eavesdrop, that kind of thing. That had been done a little bit in some games, but really never fully exploited. And but as a character, the Invisible Man thing didn't go very far in our discussions. We thought that there wasn't much more that you could do. What else could you do as an Invisible Man? You couldn't really become too active. It seemed to be just kind of a design dead end. And then we switched over to started thinking about a ghost, who could become more active, who could have other powers and so forth. And I think that was pretty much the genesis of the Geist concept. We worked very closely both with Nintendo of America and Nintendo of Japan. Closer than we've worked with any publisher ever before. Nintendo of Japan, we were in constant direct contact with. Emails every day, calls every week, visits every 6 to 8 weeks. The visits would last 2 weeks, 1 to 2 weeks of 12-hour conferences and or meetings, locked away in the conference room, only stopping long enough to walk across the street to the the cafeteria to get something to eat, and then back at it. So throughout the process, they were very deeply involved, and we collaborated. It was a great collaboration. We worked closely with them. It wasn't a top-down design, so to speak. There were a couple of things that Nintendo brought to the party, so to speak. I mean, they contributed at all levels across the entire design. But there were a couple of key elements. Initially, I think the team envisioned Geist more as a scary first-person shooter or first-person adventure game. But as we started to develop that idea, working with Nintendo of Japan in particular is a very exploratory process. They like to try things, see if it's fun, always thinking of things from the gamer's perspective. Will this be fun? Will it be cool? What would it be neat to do? That kind of thing. So they're always willing to try new things and see how they work out and so forth. One of those things, throughout this exploration, what they pushed the game more and more towards, instead of being a first-person action game, it was going to be a possession game, a game about possessing things and what the player could do with that mechanic. And it came to a point where Miyamoto pushed it so far. That was his thing. Miyamoto-san wanted it to be a possession game, and what did that mean? We wanted to know what that meant, and at some point he said, well, I want to know what it would be like to possess objects. To possess a camera, to possess a box, to possess dog food, all these sorts of things, and how would you use those? And we spent many hours in one of Nintendo of Japan's visits going over that idea and trying to figure out what we could do with it, how we could turn it into a play mechanic, what things the player could do with it, and how to merge it into our existing gameplay elements like the scares that you were doing to scare the NPCs in the world before you could possess them. This possessing objects thing came up about halfway through development. So it was really a big kind of a turning point, and it took some time to get our head around it and figure it out. But eventually, initially in Geist, you were going to use your ghost powers to manipulate objects in the world, and that would in turn scare the characters that you could then possess. With the object possession idea, that became you become the object and do things with it to attract or scare NPCs in the world, and then you could possess them. Later in the game, the player will come into weapons that have been built based on some of the enemies' weapons, and not the human enemies, but the more monstrous enemies that the player will encounter. So you have enemies that are kind of a cross between, or weapons that are more of a cross between a modern kind of an advanced weapon, but with kind of biological implants or so forth to get more exotic weapons. Geist has got a very large variety, a pretty good number of boss battles, and a good amount of variety in them. Again, Geist, we've really tried to lean Geist towards the possession mechanics. So, yeah, many of the boss battles do involve using possession in unique ways to defeat the enemies, as any game wants you to use the tools of the game to defeat the bosses. But there's a wide variety of bosses, both in their behaviors and what the player's expected to do to best them. In Geist, the player's progression is more about it reveals itself more in the kind of objects and situations that they find themselves in, and how to use their basic abilities to puzzle their way through those situations. So more than getting a new power, more than the player getting a new power, they'll find an object that they can possess and lets them and gives them a new power. In Geist, the things that you possess become your tools, whether it's a weapon or a bouncing ball or a character who has a key or some knowledge of an event. In Geist, that's kind of the twist. You possess things, and what you possess gives you the tools that you use to work your way through these puzzles. Now that we're done with Geist, I'm very happy with the results. It's a very different game, I think, that now here at the end than what any of us initially envisioned. It's been a very interesting development process, very exploratory, very educational experience with Nintendo of Japan and US. And I think in the end, Geist there's a lot of things to be very proud of in Geist. As an owner, I'm most proud that we have that Geist brings something different to the market. It's not a run-of-the-mill first-person shooter, first-person action game. It's a kind of game that only brave companies and brave publishers would put together and finish. And I think the industry needs more of that, more innovation to kind of breathe some life back into our sequel-driven, license-driven market that we live in now. We developed a very close relationship with Nintendo throughout the development of Geist, and we really enjoyed working with them, and I think that's a two-way street. We hope very much to work with them again in the future, but I can't really talk about anything that's going on right now. So, no.
Multiplayer was brought in really early as like a challenge that Nintendo gave us. They basically said, look, we really like the idea of possession, and then what would you do with that in a multiplayer game? So we started off with a deathmatch mode, where basically everyone starts off as a ghost, and the level is populated by all these sort of inanimate hosts, and each one has like a different weapon. So basically all the ghost players scatter out, find their favorite host or their favorite weapon, and then just battle each other for points. And then from there we added a capture the host mode, which is like a variation on the capture the flag. And in that one, it's the same concept as a possession deathmatch, but the points you get as you kill the opponents, you don't actually keep them until you get your host that made those kills back to a base, and then you dispossess, and then you score the points. So a lot of times it turns into a race of, you know, hey, so-and-so has like 10 points in his host, kill him before he gets to the base. And we have some variations on that where like one version has a shield that protects the base, and the only way to score is to get a key to lower that shield. So pretty much everyone's searching for the guy carrying the key. And that's a great team game, because usually you'll have one guy has the key, he's waiting to score, but he's waiting for his buddies to get in there too. And then we have one more multiplayer mode called Hunt, and that one is strictly ghosts versus hosts. And what you do there is the hosts have an anti-ghost gun that they're trying to kill all the ghost enemies with. And each team has like a certain number of lives before the game is over. And the ghosts are trying to possess the hosts, and then when they possess a host, the host player has some control over what the host is doing, but the ghost player also has a level of control. So they're fighting each other, and the ghost players are trying to get the hosts into hazards like, you know, walls of flame, or, you know, deep pits with spikes in them, that kind of stuff. And that one becomes a lot of fun, because there are a couple ways to dispossess. You can either rapidly hit the A button to knock the ghost out, or you have these dispossession grenades that you can either shoot at the floor to knock a ghost out of yourself, or shoot at your buddy to help him out. In multiplayer, we also try to introduce the whole object possession. So we have some of the objects you normally possess in single player, like explosive crates. So you have players that just sit in the crate and wait for somebody to come by and then blow it up. We've also got the gun cameras and the possessable rockets, which you possess and then just fly all around searching for people to destroy. And then we also have like special characters you can unlock, which are single player characters that if you get certain collectibles in single player mode, they'll become available in multiplayer. For the special characters in multiplayer, it's we just have, when you complete certain levels, if you've gotten all the collectibles up to that point, a character from that level will be, you know, the special high-powered character, and they're always like tucked away somewhere in the multiplayer level to find them. But it's not every character from single player. We have about a dozen maps in multiplayer. Only a few are open in the beginning, and then as you find collectibles in single player, you unlock new maps. Yeah, multiplayer levels, some are based on themes from single player. So we'll take one of our favorite rooms from single player, we'll take that theme and then we'll expand it into a larger multiplayer area, and then some are just unique to multiplayer. Yeah, we've had a lot of fun playing multiplayer in the office. People really seem to like the idea of possessing different hosts and just battling out either against each other or as teams versus bots. So we hope everyone else enjoys it too.